All right, let's look at the second sutra. The Sanskrit name is long, so we'll spend a few seconds on the name itself. So it's basically pronounced as Nikhilam Navatashcaramam Dashatah. Okay, so the best way to pronounce is the word Nikhilam is you start breaking Ni, Ni, and then Khi, Ki, Lam, Nikhilam, if you split into three. The second one, you split into multiple. Na, Na, Va, Va, and then stress on Tash, Tash, right? Then Cha, Ka, Ra, Mam, Navata, Shakara, Mam. Okay? And then the third word is Dashatah. Da, Da, stress on Sha, Sha, Ta, Dah. So Nikhilam, Navatashcaramam, and Dashatah. So that translation in English means all from 9, and the last from 10. All from 9 and the last from 10. All from 9 and the last from 10. Just let it digest that. Okay? So let's continue our exploration on the second Vedic Mathematics Sutra, Nikhilam Navatashcaramam Dashatah. So this particular principle is pretty powerful, which means all from 9 and last from 10, provides an elegant shortcut for calculators, okay, involving numbers close to the power bases. What does that mean, power bases? Like 10, 100,000. Specifically, that works well. So before we kind of dive into examples, let's understand the deeper meaning behind the sutra, right? In authentic Vedic mathematics, this principle reveals how numbers relate to convenient reference points, or what we also call as bases. So the ancient sages recognized that calculations become much simpler working with complements and differences from these bases. Okay. So in this first example, we look into the subtraction using complements, right? So let's look at, the Vedic insight, the explanation of this example, right? Subtraction using complements. So this sutra reveals the ancient Vedic technique of working with complements. So instead of the conventional borrowing method, the Vedic mathematics recognizes that subtracting from powers of 10 follows a beautiful pattern. Back to the same thing. It's training your brain to recognize patterns. Okay. Subtract each digit from 9 except the last digit, which is subtracted from 10. That's why it says all from 9 and the last from 10. So this method eliminates the need for borrowing and carrying, which is typically in modern math how we teach. So making calculations faster and more elegant. And at the same time, you are training your brain. The pattern works universally for any subtraction from powers of 10, for any subtraction. So in this example, we're going to look at subtracting 357 from 10,000. Okay, so let's look at how it's basically, if you want to translate it, right? So this is kind of how you would do it. Okay, so you will take the what you have in the 10,000 here, So the first one, the units, is 10, right? So that's basically the last. So that's why it says 10 minus 7, 3, right? Same thing. 9 minus 5, 9 minus 3. That's the result. So let's go step by step. First digit, right? So it's basically, first digit is 9 minus 3, right? All from 9, remember that. And that's 6. The second digit is 9 minus 5, that's 4. And the last digit, all from 9 and the last from 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. Now you put that together, you get what? Combine those 643, 643. So 10,000 minus 357 is 643. Right? Take a few seconds to digest. Try it out with any numbers. So the more you practice, remember now what you're doing is you're doing these huge subtractions in your mind, right? Pretty much a lot of this Vedic sutras were adopted in when you do the circuits for calculators in the programming, and today in the AI programming. All of these are being used, right? Because how our brain can interpret these numbers using the sutras, you're training your brain for pattern recognition, which is basically one of the foundation elements of AI programming today. Okay, so let's look at another example, like multiplication near base, right? This is using complements. Okay, so how to multiply numbers close to a power base, right? Near base. Okay, so in this case, it's 97 times 96, both are closer to 100 in this case, the base of 100. So before we start on that, again, let's look at kind of the Vedic insight behind this. So this example demonstrates that Nikhilam method for multiplying numbers close to a power of 10. The Vedic sages discovered that when numbers are near the same base, we can work with their deficiencies or excesses rather than the numbers themselves. By using cross subtraction and deficiency multiplication, complex multiplications become simple two-step process. This method is specifically powerful for mental calculation and reveals the deep mathematical understanding of our ancestors. Okay. So again, it's like, what does this approach do? And I keep repeating it. It demonstrates the Vedic understanding of numerical relationships and patterns. Okay. So if you look at this example, again, let's look at the first step. We said deficiencies, right? So you look at 97, its deficiency from the base here is 100, right? Is 3. So the deficiency is what? Minus 3. So 97 is 3 less, so that's minus 3 from 100. And 96 is minus 4 from 100. So, right? So remember those two numbers. Okay. Step 2. Now multiply these deficiencies. Minus 3 minus 4, what is it? Minus minus plus, 3 times 4 is 12. Right? So now what's the last step here? Now you basically are combining, doesn't matter which way you do. So you take the 93. So when you do the cross subtract also, right? It's also either 97 minus 4 is 93. If you do 96 minus 3, also, right, between the deficiencies is 93. So you got your first two digits for the result is 93. And the last two digits is taking the deficiencies and multiplying. So 93 and 12, right? So 9,312. Okay. So take a minute again to digest and pick up some other examples, and you will see, the power of what the Vedic insight for this Nikhilam Sutra is, right? So Nikhilam Navatashcaramam Dashatah, right, demonstrates the elegant efficiency of Vedic mathematics, by working with complements and deviations or deficiencies from power bases. Complex calculations transform into simple operations. So, the Vedic insights we have explored reveal how ancient sages recognize patterns that simplify mental arithmetics. This sutra is particularly powerful for calculations involving numbers close to power bases like 10, 100,000, or 10,000. So, as you practice these techniques, you will develop a deeper understanding of numerical relationship and enhance your mental calculation abilities. And I keep repeating that, and you'll see me keep repeating that.